Here's a bit of Bushtuckery. Now, these little Solanum species, nightshade, grow throughout Australia. There's the berry. Now, our indigenous people ate some sort of Solanum. I think this is Solanum nigrum, not sure. I'm not sure if it's Solanum nigrum. It's a little flower, like a tomato, a member of the tomato family, potato family. I think it's Solanum nigrum, but don't take my word for it because I'm not a botanist. Green Dean of Eat the Weeds on YouTube is an expert on bush tucker and foraging, and he can tell you all about this plant, nightshade. It's not deadly nightshade, it's just called nightshade. It's a member of the nightshade family. And the berries and even the leaves are eaten in some countries. I think the leaves are eaten in Indonesia. Australia's first people, our indigenous people, eat the berries of some type of Solanum, as I said. There are the berries. So black and juicy, related to the tomato, aren't they? So potato-like the flowers, or tomato-like. Well, the tomato flowers are yellow, aren't they? A bit like a potato flower. There's the juicy berries. Yes, Green Dean tells you all about how to identify the edible Solanum species. I think this is Solanum nigrum. And yes, you don't eat the green ones because, like green tomatoes and green potatoes, they can be poison, so you don't eat the green ones. Beautiful berries anyway, aren't they? Of course, you get conflicting information on the internet. Wikipedia says these are poison, but well, bush tucker experts say otherwise. There's the beautiful berries. Let me taste it. Very like a sweet tomato. Like a sweet tomato, not as acidic as a tomato. Sweet. Slightly tomatoey aftertaste. Look, there's a purple stain. I wiped my mouth. There's a purple stain from the skin. Says it gives you a bit of extra information, doesn't it? Beautiful purple colour. Now, I used to eat these in Sydney. There's a couple of bush tucker books. There's Wild Food in Australia by Cribb. Cribb wrote that, C-R-I-B-B. And they talk about eating the Solanum nigrum berries. There's, is it Tim Lowe's Wild Foods of Eastern Australia, or Wild Weeds of Eastern Australia, something like that. Australia, New Zealand. Anyway, both those books talk about eating Solanum nigrum berries. And of course, as I said, you don't eat the green ones. I used to eat them in Sydney. They often grow around lampposts and things, so, I mean, animals could have urinated on them, couldn't they? So not the best place. You see them wild around Paddington in Sydney, going around lampposts and street posts. Not the best place to pick them in the city, where dogs relieve themselves. So always wash them, but I'm not telling you to eat them without seeking botanical advice first on the expertise of a bush tucker expert or our indigenous people. So they are little members of the Solanaceae family. We don't have the deadly nightshade in Australia, not so far anyway. There's a flower detail for you. There's a little flower detail. Oops. I better not muck around, I'll make it too blurry. I could do handheld work though, couldn't I? There's a bit of berry detail. There's are they called umbels or something? Oh, that's a green one. That'd make a nice lampshade, wouldn't it? That's a nice lampshade design. Or for a street light for a fairy. Beautiful lampshade design, isn't it, if you think about it? And a bit of handheld work. Just for people who are interested in botany of herbs and wild foods and things, to make up their own mind. Bit of botanical information here, visual. Come on, flowers, up close. Get you up close. That's a little close-up of the flower. Try and get a side view, or a back view. There's a back view of the flower. Let's look at the seeds now. I'll squeeze a seed away from the lens, of course. There's a view of the seeds. They look rather like tomato seeds, don't they? Just like tomato seeds. Well, they are related to the tomato, aren't they? I think a YouTuber lady in America once told me they were called huckleberries or something. Or something berries. They grow all around the world now. There's some from Australia. There's one called, is it Solanum americanum? I'm not sure. You've got to know what you're doing, of course, if you're eating wild foods. Here's another little specimen. It's winter time, and it's a dry winter, so they aren't terribly lush at the moment. There's a drought on, so there aren't a lot of them around, and they're not very large plants. They're just small at the moment. Yes, in some countries they eat the leaves. They do look a bit like a capsicum, don't they, in a way? And that's another member of the Solanaceae anyway, isn't it? They do look a bit like a chili. These umbels point downwards, don't they? The fruits point downwards. I think some they might point upwards, it just depends. I'm not a botanist, as I said. Bushtucker here, Bushtuckery, looking at Solanum nigrum. I think that's Solanum nigrum. The taste test once more. Sweetish, like a sweet tomato. Purple lips, have I? Not much to them. And you don't eat the green ones. They're full of solanine, like green tomatoes and green potatoes. So you don't eat those. See you then. Always seek a Bushtucker expert and a botanical expert before eating any wild foods. Look at the golden autumn behind me.